Perfect. So today we're going to be looking at a couple of really exciting new feature releases and also a lot of great additions to the content library that we've dropped in just recently. In particular, on the back half of today's presentation, we're going to be taking pieces of content from the library, importing them into a brand new admin account, editing and translating and modifying them so that they're going to be perfect for the audience that we might hypothetically be applying this training to. So why don't we go ahead and start with the newest feature releases? This is obviously the part that I'm the most excited about. So first things first is sneak preview. For those of you who might be on the call today that are brand new to EdApp, haven't started an admin account before, or have no interaction with our tools, this is going to be a really exciting way for you to interact with content from the content library with no barriers to entry. Sneak preview essentially gives you the ability to look at, interact with, engage with, and even edit content from our 650 course strong library. And you're allowed to do so right from www.edapp.com without inputting an email. It's just a few mouse clicks away. Later today, we're actually going to start an account using Sneak Preview. So we're going to be able to give you a dynamic demonstration on how this works.
And Chris, I think that's a good segue to mention this webinar is really going to break into two sections. So the first one, for those of you who are old hands and experienced at using EdApp, welcome to the call. And I would recommend that you kind of focus on the first half of this section, which is where we're going to be talking about the features and the library. For those of you who want a refresher or you're new to EdApp and the authoring capability that we have built in, then the second part is going to be relevant for you also. So that's going to be a really practical session where Chris is going to get into the tools and show you about branding, editing, and deployment. So yeah, like a tale of two halves, and we won't take it personally if you decide to drop off because you already know this, but like I say, if you want a refresher or you want to learn, we're going to do a really practical session in a second.
Yeah, and that's precisely right. I know Jamie already mentioned this, but when we're looking at content from the content library, for those of you that are new, or if you are old hands, if you see something that you want us to show on screen and explore in greater detail, shout it out in the chat and we can take a peek at it. Perfect. Moving forward with authoring content instantly, like I was just mentioning via Sneak Preview, we have the brand new, just like magic link feature. Again, this is something that I'm tremendously excited about. And maybe I'm a little bit biased. Some people in attendance here might have talked to myself on the live chat channel, as well as some of my peers that are working the chat in Zoom right now. Password woes happen, to anyone at any time. What Magic Link allows you to do, if you're familiar with features that are deployed in tools like Slack already, is click a single button and have not a password delivered to your inbox, not a reset link, but just a button in your email inbox that you can click that will log you into EdApp's admin or learner tools without any further steps being necessary. What this means for you as a learner and an admin is ease of access to the tools, yes, but if you're deploying EdApp to a wide audience, what we're doing is just breaking down yet another barrier to entry for them to access this learning content. If password management has been an issue with you in the past with other programs that you've deployed, Magic Links are going to help break that down.
And I think this is just I think the Magic Link is just a really good example, Chris, of where we're actively listening to our customers and some of the challenges they have. And obviously you and as you said, the other guys on this call from EdApp running live chat, that is often a barrier, people remembering their password. And I will say I'm definitely guilty of that. Hands up, and this week I used the Magic Link and it was revolutionary. I understand why they call it a Magic Link now, because it saved me definitely a few steps. And I think for those people who we're all very time limited in this modern world, we want to kind of get straight to the point. Just being able to kind of bypass all of that password reset challenges, well, it's magic. It's magic. So great. Thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Yeah, well, a lot of the features that we're talking about here, as well as the content we're adding to the content library coming up, the mantra here is convenience, right? How much of this learning journey can EdApp basically do for you, right? So features like Magic Link and our last webinar's topic, rapid refresh, that's really what we're focusing in on.
Sure.
So the latest announcement, we've got 650 courses and counting on the content library, something that we're really excited about. This has been an area of a tremendous amount of effort on our part. And the content library material has been built by audience members and users like yourself. It's been built by our instructional design team, as well as our partners, building out specific pieces of courseware for very tailored use cases or very broadly applicable ones. So we're going to focus in on a couple of key areas that we've been just building and developing content for in the content library. So moving forward, I know I just mentioned that the content library spans a wide variety of verticals. Jamie, I want to cue you in here. Why don't we go ahead and elaborate on some areas that we've been focusing on and what we've covered in the past?
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile just mentioning. So our initial go-to-market strategy in terms of building out the library, and this aligns with what I mentioned already about being customer-driven, was to think about where the demand would come from, and through research with our client base, it was obvious that things like compliance and safety, given our ownership by Safety Culture and their product iAuditor, there was a lot of focus around safety, and then naturally, we work with companies in CPG and FMCG, so things like manufacturing started to become part of our library. So we've been quite reactive, listening to our customers, and so what you'll find is there are a number of industry-focused library areas. So you can see some, for example, here: construction, food and hospitality, retail, manufacturing, transport and logistics. And what we've also found consistently, and Chris, I'm sure in your engagements with prospects and customers, you've had these discussions. Certainly I have, and my colleague Luke, who looks after Asia Pacific and some of our larger opportunities in the US, concluded as well. There are some areas that span industries. And actually, that's what we want to talk about today. Is what are those, what are those areas of development that span industries? And so far, we've come up with a few areas. So they are policy and code of conduct, leadership, and sales. And so we're really excited. That's okay. You can flip. And by the way, love your animated flip here, Chris. Good job on PowerPoint or Keynote there. But so we've got some really exciting new content. I'm going to say, like, for my money, the instructional design team have gone above and beyond and set a new benchmark in terms of the engagement, the visual aesthetic, and the quality of the output for these course areas. And the great thing about things like sales enablement is it has a universal, appeal. Because things like active listening, account planning, and Chris, you know all about these things, right? Market, being able to upsell, being agile with problem management, and ultimately closing deals. These things, it doesn't matter whether you're working in a shop, you're working for a healthcare organization, you're working for a manufacturer or a professional services or a technology business, right? These are all core skills that need to be adopted. And so we're really excited about this. And I think the evolution may well be that we continue to edit and reapply these. So we may make industry specific versions of these courses, but right out of the box, these courses are awesome, right? They're ready to go. And the amazing thing is when Chris shows you about the practical side of things, about rebranding and deployment, like these things can look and feel like something that you've spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort in creating. So we're going to give you a fast track here. So Here you can see some amazing sales enablement training. I've taken most of it. I've still got some things to learn, but I'm trying. Next, we're going to have a look at leadership, if we can. Leadership and development, again, like a really universal requirement. It really doesn't matter what organization, big, small, extra large you're working in, being able to manage your communications effectively, operating with empathy, thinking about the culture of your organization and how you want to apply that through your leadership style, understanding different leadership styles and how they can apply and how they can work. All of these things resonate. So I'm going to encourage everybody on this call to take a look, pick out a few of the courses from these libraries and to try it. I think you're going to be really impressed. You're going to really like it. And as I say, when Chris shows you the practical elements about how to rebrand it, it's going to look awesome as well. Okay. So the last bit that I want to show you is around, and this is a really exciting subject and topic area, is around startups and modern teams. And so obviously, what we're seeing now is a number of organizations, even those who are very traditional, adopting really agile methodology in terms of communication and interaction, much more software and innovation being brought into the organization. And so those big businesses can learn from startups, but equally startups have got to learn from big businesses. And so I think we're starting to bridge the gap here with some of this training, where we're bringing these new ideas, these new concepts, but we're helping you to apply them in whatever workplace you're in. So again, super cool. Love the startup stuff. Encourage you to have a look and, and work through some of that content. As you can see here, the look's really fresh and nice as well. Again, hats off to the ID team. Like, they're doing a really good job in terms of bringing their A game to design. I think we might have some policy and process stuff. If you flip again for me. Yeah, we do. And then the last bit is around code of conduct. So again, all of these things can be localized for your market. So it's important to say, and again, Chris is going to show this, at the click of a button, we can translate this content into one of 124 languages for you. So for any of you who are looking after, a diverse organization, it can be, by the way, a manufacturing site where you've got people from all around the world working on conveyor belts, right? Or it could be that you're a big scale learning and development director operating 42 countries like some of our customers are, right? We're going to give you the ability to translate this content. And then the fantastic thing is with EdApp, it's going to automatically give it to the learner in their preferred language, depending on their device settings, if you've been kind enough to give it to them in that language, right? So super cool. We're covering things like GDPR, one of my favorite subjects and topics in here, and a whole broad range of policy stuff. So Chris, I'm going to hand back to you because you're going to show us now how we turn this stuff into our library content to stuff that looks and feels like I say, like you spent a lot of money, time, and effort developing it for your customers, right?
Yeah, that's precisely right. And the exciting part about this is that it shouldn't take us longer than 5, maybe 10 minutes tops in order to have this content library material ready to go in the language of your choice and the brand of your choice with the edits that you want to make. It takes hardly any time at all. So why don't we go ahead and jump on over to the admin tools for now, and we can come back to the slideshow in a moment. So I'm going to start off today, instead of jumping to admin.edapp.com like we normally would in order to roll out training to a learner base of to an audience, sorry, I should say. And we're going to focus on the new course library tab, which has just been reformatted to include Sneak Peek. So opening up the course library tab, this should look familiar to us. We're greeted with a variety of different courses, and they're all delineated into specific categories, such as trending or by vertical. We've got a couple of packages that our team has put together for you. Jamie had just talked through a number of them, such as Essentials for Startups, or if you've been on recent webinars, we've talked about our lockdown care package, a series of 10 courses that can help your audience get through the pandemic in strides. We have newly added content material and leadership and sales, and policies and code of conduct. I know that we had just listed the different lessons and courses that we have on these topics on screen. So if something stands out to you that you want us to take a deeper look at or just a preview of at any point, definitely let us know in the chat and we can take a look. For now, we're going to go ahead and pick something from Essentials for Startup, such as maybe remote working. I think this one should be universally relevant for everyone. And let's give it a sneak preview. So by clicking this course, we're not greeted with just a description and a title and reviews, as you might expect, but we've actually got this really handy live preview that we can interact with. Here's our course, Remote Working on Lessons. It's actually consistent of 5 micro lessons on introductions, challenges, better communication, structuring your day, and mental and emotional well-being. And we can preview these lessons in an interactive display over here on the right side of the screen. And take any forms of quizzes, watch any video content that might be on there, interact with any images that might be built into the lesson. I know Jamie was hinting earlier that this content looks like you spent a lot of money on it, or a lot of time, I should say. Our instructional design team really poured their hearts out in building this content to be as engaging and as professional as possible. Now, if you like what you see, you have a couple of options here. Say you want to deploy this course to your audience and you want to do it now, you can just deploy it as is, or you can start editing this course. Now, the workflow I'm showing you at the moment, this is really applicable to those of you who have not started an EdApp account yet. This is great for if you're previewing EdApp for the first time. And those of you on the call that are familiar with EdApp might recognize what we're looking at here. And this is our built-in authoring tool. On the left-hand side of the screen, we've got a simulation of the mobile application running, or the tablet application, or EdApp running on Android, or even just a browser window. So you get to choose how you want to preview the device. All of the content is pretty universally accessible, regardless of whichever device your audience might be using. Over here is our data entry. This is where any assets that you might want to convey to your audience are going to go. Sentences from slideshows and worksheets that you've just lifted off of these older, more stagnant forms of learning, or image assets, video files, whatever it is you might want to add to personalize this. And you'll notice it's WYSIWYG style. I'm not sure if too many people here are familiar with that, but what you see is what you get. And when you enter strings of text, for example, into these boxes, you'll get a one-for-one interpretation in the simulation on the left. And then, probably most important of all, are templates. EdApp is 100% template-based. So a great way to simplify this is these templates convey a singular interaction with your learners, whether that's asking them to pick out a missing word or displaying an image that your audience can interact with, much like we'd seen on screen earlier, or just conveying a video. They each do one thing. All you need to do is stack up the interactions that you want or shuffle them around, enter the text, for example, the video, or like, for example, upload a video, enter the assets, I should say, and that's that. Now, in this case, really the big value add here is that this content's been built out for us. So we have the opportunity, if we feel like doing so, to make any tweaks or modifications to this learning content to really make it ours, right? Now, let's just go ahead and say we like it the way it is. So I'm going to press this sign up to save button, and that's going to launch our login flow, essentially. At this part, you'll inevitably type the same password in twice, but somehow get it wrong. Happens every time. Did I get it right the first try? Perfect. Now, this is actually a really handy workflow that you're greeted with the first time you're signing up for EdApp. Of course, we don't have to read this. We've got myself and Jamie to talk you through this part live. So we're just going to fill out a few basic pieces of information here. And I'm going to click through these slides. we'll be greeted with the admin tool dashboard. And here's the remote working course that we were just looking at, with any edits that we might have made in the previous screen. So again, if you're familiar with EdApp, this should feel like home for you. And if you're not, this is the portal through which you're going to be able to deliver this content to your audience. Now, let's take a look at some of the simple tools that we can use to make sure that this is ready to go in just, like I said, a couple of minutes, right? We've downloaded this course. We've made a few tweaks. We might have uploaded a photo of our team or our office location or what used to be our office location since before we were all working from home. And we think that this is ready to go. Let's jump on over from this lessons tab, which details the various lessons that you have available. We just reviewed these. And we'll jump on over to branding. From here, you got a couple of really simple options that you can modify in order to have this resonate with the audience at hand, right? A couple of in-app tools. These are really great for admins. Things like the cover image or the thumbnail of the course when your users are browsing for content, or pieces of or imagery that's present in the lesson. For example, the background of the slides or the logos. Again, the mantra here is convenience. All of this is done for you. If you really wanted this to look professional, you need only upload a logo, and that should do the trick. Most of the content from the content library already has a really compelling background and stylistic touches already applied.
I think what's interesting, Chris, there is that kind of experience tells us that even by just putting your corporate logo into the learning experience, people naturally want to engage with it more than if it's just a generic learning object, right? You know, if you want to start theming your learning, as you've mentioned already, the designs are there, but it's so easy, right, to make changes. And I guess, you know, we've got a good audience here. It may be worthwhile just a quick showcase, for example, if you could change the cover image there and maybe show us Canva, like show us how quickly, for example, you could put a new background onto the learning, that kind of thing. I think it'd be cool just to show people, or if they want to put a logo in, because I think that's the main piece, right? It's like, you can change the content, that's super easy. You know, any edits you make happen in real time. You can change the order, again, super easy. You can drag and drop, you can delete stuff, you can add things that are relevant to your organization. You can give it a slant so it's focused on a specific audience. But again, you know, you want this to look and feel like something that you guys have produced. So Chris, why don't you go ahead and just show us a bit of that branding? I think that would be nice to, you know, to show the aesthetic side of things.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So why don't we just go ahead and pretend to be an organization, a large enterprise, like Ford, for example, or something like that. We're going to be delivering this piece of training to our audience, our learners all across Europe or the United States. So for the logo field, I'll just run and grab something I prepared beforehand. It's just a PNG of the logo. This looks like it should work really well. And we'll upload it to that field. That aspect of it's done. The background, we can do something really similar. I have an image I've prepared beforehand, but I think it might be more compelling if we just grab one from Canva. This is great in the event that you don't have imagery prepared. Usually you'd find yourself going to some form of image repository that's royalty free that you can grab stock images from. With the Canva tool, you don't have to take that extra step. That's sort of done for you. So I can press this button and launch Canva. I'll have to sign in, but that's quite all right. I hope no one here steals my password. And just a moment.
It would be great if you had a magic button right now, wouldn't it, Chris? That's you can give that feedback to our friends at Canva.
It was really letting me down here.
I'm sorry about this. That's my fault. I've set you up there, right? So have you got something perhaps in your library if the Canva integration isn't, if you haven't got your login details?
I do actually, yeah. I have a pie that I baked earlier.
All right, so yeah, Canva works really well, by the way, everybody. But you need to remember your login details. So that's our takeaway from that part of the demonstration. But yeah, if we can just add something from our library, it works the same, right? It's like either you choose something because you haven't got that image, or or you choose whatever you've got.
Well, here's what I've created
Oh,
earlier.
truck. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
That should do the trick.
A pickup truck. Right. There you go. So yeah, you drop that one in for us.
Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the effect that we've got on screen. So I'm going to head right back to the introduction. These are slides that we're already familiar with, and we've seen them on screen just moments ago. So let's take a look at how our edits came across.
Ah, there you go.
Perfect.
Right.
So yep, we've got our logo in the top left corner. We've got a really great image asset in the background. What's nice is all of the text and the materials on screen have been modified perfectly to work with our branding. It only took us a minute or two. That includes any interactions. That includes the video content and the image assets that we'd seen earlier. And that means it will work on any format of display. Whatever device, be it desktop or mobile, that your audience is using to access this training.
And I think there is some more advanced, like we won't get into it, but for any of you who are keen to have a discussion about it, if you have like a really, if you have a brand police function in your organization who are hyper focused on choosing the right color, the right specific font, then we also have the ability to just put some custom code in there, which we can help you to find. It's nothing that anyone has to worry about. But it's really simple to work with, right? So there, as you can see here, there are some very simple instructions on what things are. Or like you reach out to anyone through the live chat service, or if you're talking to myself or Chris or Luke or one of our customer success team, just go ahead and ask them, about CSS, and they'll be able to help you, choose whatever you want. But ultimately, what we're going to do here is we're giving you a packaged course which you could instantly go and share across your audience if it meets your criteria. We're giving you the ability to very quickly edit it. So if you want to give it a corporate slant, incorporate your own policies, talk about your own organization, or skew it to a specific audience. If you want to rebrand it, make it look and feel like your content, you can do that. If you just want to throw your logo in, you can do that. It really couldn't be easier for you to take our content and immediately start servicing your learners. And we've got 650 courses today, Chris, but I know that our instructional design team are working like crazy, right? So who knows where we're going to be by mid-year, or even dare to think about it by the end of 2021, right?
Exactly right.
Look out LinkedIn Learning and Udemy. That's all I'm saying. There's a new player in town now, right?
Wow. Shut
Yeah,
across the bow.
fighting talk, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what about Chris? Let's just say that we've got this branded, we've got it looking good, we're happy with the content. What if we mentioned our, potentially we have some folks here who have people operating in different languages.
Yeah.
How about translation?
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at how you translate this content?
Yeah, cool.
So I'm going to jump over to a different account that actually has EdApp Pro unlocked. Translation is a pro feature here, but it's really easy to use. So let's just jump into, say, for example, GDPR. I think that this could be a really great use case. Let's come up with a hypothetical scenario. You're deploying GDPR training across 7 or 8 different countries in Europe, and you need the ability to deploy it in languages like Spanish, Italian, German, whatever it might be. Here we have our course with any edits that we might have made to it, any branding pieces that we might have applied to it. Now, how do we take this piece of training and get it into those countries so that our learners are going to be able to interact with this training material? So we've already seen the lessons tab. We've already checked out the branding tab. For this, we're going to head to the more tab. And I'm going to use what's called AI translation. So I can't tell you, this feature is really cool. It genuinely still blows my mind, and I work with it all the time. But when you click the new translation feature, you can do it the old-fashioned way, or you can use Google's API to translate to over 124 languages instantly, right? By clicking this button and choosing the language that we want to translate to, such as some of the ones that I just mentioned, but there really is a lot of options here. You can do so, and the translation is done for you, and that includes all forms of engagements and assessments in your lessons. Things like videos and images are going to be left behind. Those obviously aren't translated, but any pieces of text you'll find will be translated.
And I think just
sorry,
to add, I mean, in terms of our library content, we've deliberately designed this stuff so that there aren't assets in there that won't translate, right? So everything will translate. When you're thinking about your own authoring experience, if you want to embed video content in there, then again, we've got hints and tips on how to add automatic subtitling in there as well. So, you know, our aim is always maximum simplicity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here. Yeah. And I'm just going to say, Chris, have I locked, or is that you? Chris, I'm just going to say I'm disappointed that you chose French, because I saw Chichewana there, which I've never seen as a language before, and I was excited to see Chichewa, to see what that looks like. So I think we should go, you know, let's go a bit nuts and try something different today.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Come on, let's do it. Let's do it.
Unless we've got a request from the audience, then we're going to go for this.
And the audience, Chris, come on, let's try Chichewa.
Well, Jamie, it's not like anyone from the audience. Well, I could be wrong. Is going to be able to spell check us on this one, so I don't think that this is a super compelling example.
Come on.
Before we go forward, I just want to point this checkbox out, because this to me is remarkable. Automatic delivery of this content is, like Jamie was mentioning earlier, this is like magic. When your audience members are signing on to EdApp from their mobile devices, the App Store or the Google Play Store is going to take note of what language they have their device set to. And with automatic delivery, EdApp is just going to show them one version of your courseware that's in that language without them having to take extra steps. So unless you uncheck this box, when a user visits your program, they're not going to see your course, your GDPR course, in Italian, Spanish, French, Chichewa, whatever it might be. They're only going to see the version that's most relevant to them, and they'll only have to complete one version. They're not going to have to complete various different languages in order to get 100% marks. So let's go ahead and translate. This part takes about 5 or 10 seconds, usually, and then it should be done.
And I've been learning about the Chewa language while you're doing that, Chris. So Chewa is a Bantu language spoken in much of the southern, southeastern, and east of Africa, namely countries such as Malawi and Zambia. So I think we're all learning. We hadn't anticipated we would learn about new languages today, but I feel like it's always an opportunity to share a bit of insight.
Love it. Let's take a look at the course.
Let's do it. Let's do it. What does it look like? Perfect.
So I don't think that the GDPR training is going to be too applicable to that market, but it's something that you can easily do. And you'll notice this content, we were just previewing it earlier. All the text assets have been totally translated, and that includes things like assessments, the way questions are being posed and the answers that you're choosing. That includes things like interactions, answering questions with numerical values. It's all been translated.
Yeah. And you'll also notice some keywords have been omitted from the translation. That's because we use a machine learning tool that recognizes abbreviations like GDPR and knows that they don't need to be translated, right?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. Since we're not reinventing the wheel, we're using Google's machine learning translation tools. As they improve over time, so will EdApp's translation features. And perfect. So what we've really seen on screen here over the past 10 minutes is the amount of steps that it takes you to take a piece of fully complete GDPR or sales competency or working from home training, tweak it a little bit, translate it to the languages that you need, and have them ready to be deployed to learners in really no time at all. So with that, I should say, Jamie, with what we've shown on screen here, is there anyone from the audience that had any specific questions that you might want me to cover while I have my screencast going?
Yeah, thank you. So we have had a variety of questions come in. There were questions around lesson level branding, and perhaps quickly you can just show how that works, because we showed course level branding, but if you wanted to, you know, have some aesthetic differences between your different lesson interactions, how would you go about doing that, Chris?
That's a great question. So we'll notice when we have a course open, you have the lessons tab, and then you can move over to the branding tab. You can actually do the exact same thing. So you can set, for example, different backgrounds for each of your lessons. So if I were to open up this intro lesson here, here is our lesson level branding tab. By default, the course branding is applied, but we get to change these fields if we uncheck that box.
And Molly actually came back with an interesting response as well. So she talked about in the lesson editing feature, the ability to create using our slider template a cover image for a slide interaction. So I don't know, Chris, if you want to have a quick buzz through that while I just have a look at some of the other questions here as well.
Absolutely, I love this question. The image slider technique is one pioneered, shout out to one of our instructional designers, Sam Fari, who does amazing work. I don't believe he put together this remote working course, but he showed me how to use image slider in order to fashion what is essentially a cover image, but for your lesson. You'll notice that the second slide is the background that we've set, but the first one is this really great graphic. What we're doing here is we're using an image slider style template, which traditionally just displays an image on screen. One of the image position options that you have access to is cover. So it's going to give you that effect. Now, in order to achieve an effect like this, just take your image asset, drop it into this box, and for image position, select cover, and that's it.
Oh, perfect. And then there was another question around attachments. So and again, Molly's doing a great job fielding these questions. So the first one was whether we can embed a hyperlink into the learning experience. And I think that that's probably an opportunity to show, I mean, we can simply type in a hyperlink and show how that works, but also perhaps for those of you who have some authoring experience, to also our web frame in the advanced area, and how you can actually show a web page inside the app experience without bumping people across to a different area.
Perfect. So I'll start off with the more simple one. In terms of embedding a hyperlink, you absolutely can. You can actually just use simple HTML to generate a hyperlink that's clickable, that you can modify the text of. Of course, any short links like this will work and will launch separate web pages ready to go right in the tool. So it can be as simple as copy and pasting a URL right into the box. Of course, you can add your HTML. I don't know what it is offhand or how to do it, but you can add your HTML here to change the text that is the link if that was something that you felt compelled to do.
Cool.
And then the more advanced feature that you were just mentioning there, Jamie, the ability for you to have web frames or entire sites be part of a lesson is really compelling. And you're not going to find that under content. That's over under advanced features. And we call this external URL. And what this really does is it fetches a URL and just displays it on screen. It should work quite well here. Let's go ahead and see if I can't get that web page to display. Gotcha. So
if you just drop in our page, just for, there's a hyperlink underneath, you can just copy and paste in there.
Say again. Oh yeah, there we go. See if this works. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Must be my syntax.
That's okay. It's just the neat thing about this is the hyperlink will bounce you out of the app and over to an Internet Explorer, whereas this is allowing you to interact with that web resource without having to leave the app. Okay.
That's precisely right. So if you wanted to provide something like having your audience fill out a form that you might want to capture, or preview source material that you've included in your content as like at the end of your lessons, this is a great way to do it.
Well, Chris, I'm glad that you mentioned forms because that was another question. So we're going to come back, Jackie, to how you use the briefcase if you wanted to have an attachment. But there was also another question, forgive me, I'll need to find out who that was from, but about whether you could ask open questions to your audience to get feedback. And I think, again, it would be an opportunity to showcase the survey slides, how they use to ask open questions or to get feedback from learners
Yeah.
without a kind of yes or no um, scenario.
And that's actually a really great question. What we're working with here is a piece of content that we grabbed from the content library. But what your considerations, what you need is to grab survey results from your learners. So in order to achieve that effect, we have our content ready to go. We just press add a new slide. We work our way down to survey and we pick free text. And that simple amendment is going to give us that survey functionality that we're looking for in a learning program with our question field here. And the users will be able to type in any response that they would like that you can then later collect via our analytics suite.
And you know, just to build on this, the other way that we kind of engage freeform with learners would be through discussions and assignments. So with discussions, that's where the instructor is asking a question of that cohort or learner group, and you know, socially, the learners are coming together to discuss an idea, a concept, a thought, and share and grow from each other. Our assignment feature is more of an evidence-based question tool. So that's where, again, an instructor could ask an exam question, ask a practical question, and ask the learner to provide evidence, and then they could, you know, take control of you know, whether they pass, fail, or indeed get into a coaching cycle where they request more feedback. So for any of you who are interested in those elements, we can, you know, we can have separate sessions. I'm going to share contact details at the end. I did mention the briefcase because it's one of the questions. So Chris, if you could just jump in and just show, if you have policy and process documents, where you'd put them for the learners.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So say we've got remote working here and we're looking to add a few work from home policy documents to this course. Really easy to do. We've seen lessons, we've seen branding. We're going to work our way over to Briefcase. And this is great. So this is super convenient. What Briefcase is at its core is a free Dropbox you get to use, but it will allow you to share documents with your audience. So by clicking this button right here, you can create and upload a file directly from your computer and basically just clip it right to this piece of courseware. Your users will then have a link in their mobile application or their desktop window. They'll be able to access and download that file.
Yeah, and that also, sorry to distract, but again, another way that we can encourage peer authoring or social learning is actually through our peer authoring capability as well, because there's another question there about input. That's where we can ask learners to actually share video content, and again, that starts a discussion that people can follow. So there's a range of social and coaching and peer learning tools built into the platform, and obviously those are all complementary to the micro learning itself, which, you know, for any of you who've experienced, you'll find, you know, is a great experience, right? Short, sharp, succinct, engaging. It you know, comes packed with games to make the experience fun, and then if we're using things like leaderboards and real rewards and badges, then, you know, lots of things that you can unlock and, you know, and enjoy as you go. So, you know, that's a really important part to us, I think, is just going above and beyond just those learning experiences in isolation. But when it all comes down to it, you know, that's what EdApp is really great for, right? It's enabling you as an organization to harness our capability to either edit and deploy our content, or, you know, build this stuff from scratch, or upload some PowerPoint slides and, you know, prepare yourself, you know, with the rudimentary elements of a micro learning lesson that you can build around. So I'm just going to have a look. I think there was one more question, Chris.
While you have a look, I'll just jump back to the slides. I know we're coming up on time a little bit here, so I want to display me and Jamie's contact information on screen here. And And yeah, have a look there. Oh, perfect. By the way, if you like what you saw and you need some help, I'm going to give you two really great venues you can go through to get assistance. You can contact myself, Luke, or Jamie, or twice weekly, you can drop into these workshop sessions. These are highly valuable. You'll actually get to talk, shoulder to shoulder with the instructional design team that put this material together. It's open enrollment, so you might be working with your peers as well too, which I think is a great value add. And these are free. They're held twice weekly. I can't recommend enough that you jump into these sessions if you're looking to build out content.
One quick question here from Steve Ainsworth. I don't know whether you can do this quickly, but maybe you could just do it with the HTML link. Can we show Steve what it would look like on a PC? Because I think at the moment we've shown everyone the mobile experience. Can you just jump into access rules on one of the lessons and just show us, the full screen experience quickly?
Yeah, Steve, I think we can do that actually. What I'll do is just create a test user and get signed in on my MacBook. So give me a moment here. Here is our test user. Highly secure password. We're going to make this user a learner and hit save. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and get logged in as this user. And Steve, what we're looking at now is the end user the end user experience as a learner that's accessing content on a laptop. This is, we're logged into web.edapp.com as that learner I just created. And these courses should look really familiar. Here, for example, is that GDPR course that we had translated earlier. In this case, it's being displayed in English, right? That's the device that my browser is set to. Sorry, device, the language that my browser's set to. Easy for me to say. And here's the content. What we're looking at is the 4 various lessons that were available under this GDPR course, my progress bar, and what my goal is for completion. And we can jump into this material, hit start lesson. And from here, this should all look super familiar to you. The biggest takeaway is that the content's been reformatted to fit this wide screen as opposed to portrait display. So we're making the best use of space that we can when it comes to display real estate.
Nice one. And Jessica Stout has asked a question about analytics, whether we have any lessons for going through analytics. And I think that's a good recommendation, Jessica. I think we could definitely knock one together pretty quickly using our authoring tools. But that aside, we can definitely help you, right? Like our analytics, like everything in EdApp, are really straightforward, intuitive to operate. We're tracking every element of the learning, opens, completions, utilizations that can be structured by different groups. You can assign manager access for partitioned reporting. You can export this stuff manually through Excel, or you can set it up through automation using our API. So I can see, Jessica, that Molly has responded to you. If you want to have a chat about that, then again, we'll take your details and get back to you. And then Jackie Granger, Jackie, I hope I pronounced your name right. Can EdApp talk to your LMS? Success factors. Yes, we're on speaking terms with just about every learning management system, out in the market, certainly the main ones. Again, through our API, we offer full integration. So that's single sign-on, automation of onboarding and offboarding. It's data transfer return for historical data if you want to do holistic reporting. So you give us a challenge and we're going to give you the solution for it. Again, Jackie, happy to have specific discussions, but SuccessFactors is an LMS that we have integrated with already. So I'll be pretty confident there. Okay, so I think that is about it for questions. We've run at 5 minutes over, and I see a big group of you have stayed on. So thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today. If you have any further questions, then reach out to myself or Chris or Luke, or indeed if you're in contact with someone already from EdApp, then feel free to use them. If you prefer, you can hit live chat. or there are ways to contact us through the website as well. So you should never be far away from someone in EdApp. We work pretty much 24/7. Or certainly it feels like that sometimes. Just a joke. But yeah, look, lovely. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Chris, I'm going to let you finish up because you've done such a fantastic job. So thank you very much for all of your efforts today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for jumping on and co-hosting this with me, Jamie. It's been a dream. I'm excited to see what we come up with next time we're on for the webinar.
Great, great. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world.
Have a good one.